Hey, welcome to another Tasting Room Conversations. Super excited to be here with a good friend of mine and somebody that is just an interesting guy. He's gonna tell you no, but anybody who knows Jasper Walsh knows he's a guy who does things. And one of the things that he does in business world is you are a big player in Maine Distributors, and Maine Distributors for us is just one of our premier partnerships, one of our pinnacle partnerships. One of the things that keeps our business going is the work that Maine Distributors does.
Wow.
So, well, it's true.
No,
so
kind of you. It's like quite a lead in.
don't worry. It's gonna be
It'll be
super
down-
good.
downhill from here.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you.
So we lead you off like that, but what is Maine Distributors? What is Maine Distributors? What does Maine Distributors do? I'm sure many of the people who are reviewing this know what we do at Geaghan Brewing Company. We're a brewing company. What is a distribution company?
Well, it's really very simple. We distribute beverages. We are a beverage distributor. We love beer primarily, but we're also interested in non-alcoholic items and wine as well. And we're always interested in new ventures in distribution, but you and your team do such a great job making this liquid. The team that I work with, they're not mine, but our team does a great job in the logistics of delivering that to people, bringing that either to people's on-premise establishments, so you could come to the tasting room and have a conversation just like this with a friend or a stranger, and also to businesses, retailers that sell boxes of beer, wine, or soda. And so Maine D is a family-owned company. We're located right here in Bangor, Maine. We're some of the nicest men and women that we think you're ever going to meet. We have sales reps that are on the road every day, 5 days a week, trying to talk to people and educate people about alcohol, responsible alcohol usage, the powerful freedom of choice that we have here in Maine and as Americans, and to sell beer.
Yeah. So for those, and this could be a long, drawn-out conversation that we don't need to get into too deeply, because most people don't understand a thing we call the three-tier system that functions throughout most of the country, not all of the country, but definitely has been a big part of the alcohol distribution game, the beer distribution game particularly, in the state of Maine. And what it says is, correct me if I'm wrong, that there must be three tiers. So there are the producers of the beverage, there are the distributors of the beverage, and then there are the retailers and the bars and the restaurants and the grocery stores and the package stores and all that sort of stuff. And that they are three distinct tiers.
True.
Right? And so it's a really interesting dichotomy that we've seen. In the last few years, we've seen a lot of change in that system.
Yeah, well
right?
said.
I mean, what is some of the change that we've seen in the alcoholic beverage industry? What does that look like? How has that played out from your perspective as a family-owned and operated company, as a group of people doing your job? How have things changed over the last few years?
It's a killer question. There's a lot to it. So, true, the way that the law in Maine and some states work, I cannot brew beer and sell beer. And there's a long list of reasons why the laws were written after Prohibition and to protect the integrity of the end consumer and the standardized business practices to make sure that I'm not selling beer to one person at one price, but I'm giving my buddy John Brown down in Waterville a great deal on it. So we both love and kind of hate those laws because we get to be the awesome middle people that represent your brand. So prior to a few years ago, if you were a brewer or a producer of a certain size, you would work with a distributor and we would bring the beer or wine to the retailers. And eventually then the retailers would sell it to the end consumer. So I can't make beer and then sell my own beer, or buy beer and then sell it to the end consumer, which is you at home, people that love great quality liquid. So we're sort of a middle person, and the men and women that work at Maine Distributors do a great job of trying to help the retailers understand how important it is and sort of the sober nature of selling alcohol and what that means, the responsibility of that. But also we've become business consultants. We want to help people do well and make smart decisions and understand their margin and understand that beer is a food item and needs to be treated as you would cheese. There's a date on it. It needs to be rotated. It needs to be refrigerated. These are all things that the distributor not only does for the retailers to protect the end consumer, to make sure that you're getting the freshest pint from a clean draft line that's delivered on a truck by a man or woman with a shirt on like this that's going to rotate those kegs, rotate those cases, because we want the end consumer, the final person at home, to have an awesome beer experience.
Yeah.
So,
and one of the things I just wrote down a quick note, the laws versus relationship, and that's kind of one of the things that we're in right now with so many changes that have happened. You're seeing more breweries opening, and you're seeing self-distribution happen a lot more, which is something that from a person who generally likes free market enterprise, supports. I think that's a good thing. I think as a producer of a good, you should be allowed to sell that good.
absolutely.
I think there are some plays in the laws that allow for conversation of the law itself. But for me, I think you can't underestimate the value of the relationship that we have as Geaghan Brothers Brewing Company with Maine Distributors and all of our distribution partners. In that, man, oh man, there's a lot that you do that adds value to our company that allows us to do what we do. I think of your warehouse. I mean, we don't even have enough warehouse to keep the back stock of our product stocked up and ready to go to all of the consumers. I think of the drivers are fantastic. Holy cow, those men and women that are loading up the trucks, driving those trucks across the state, or in your case, the northern and eastern part of the state, and getting the right things to the right people, the logistics side of it. I think about things that people don't understand, like draft tanks.
Sure.
Like, it's incredibly important to have clean draft lines. You guys have a crew that goes out and cleans the draft lines for the restaurants to make sure that they're ready to go, make sure that the product's right. You've got merchandisers out there. You've got sales guys that go into some of the smaller towns and set up the shelves and make sure things are good and make sure the dates are right and make sure all this. And you do that on a margin that allows you to be a profitable company, but a margin that I look at it and go, man, oh man, I couldn't do all of what is done. Supporting the brand, supporting those things, supporting the retailers on that high-end level with the margin that you guys take of that sale.
Well, that's a big part of some of the misunderstanding or sort of misconceptions about who we are and what we do. We are able to represent a lot of different brands. We're very, very thankful for the beers that we're able to represent. Some of them are big multinational companies, some of them are small regional companies, and then some of them are really awe-inspiring local companies that we're able to represent. But at the end of the day, we do exactly the same thing. Our job is to protect the quality of the liquid that we're selling from the day that we pick it up from you to where we store it in our climate-controlled warehouse. We try to deliver all
Their warehouse is way cooler than our warehouse. Our warehouse is good.
Yeah,
yours is pretty cool.
We're very fortunate.
You have some things that we just don't have.
Well, we're fortunate that we're able to operate at that scale because of a lot of the different brands that we represent. And it means that when we bring on a partner, a real partner in distribution, we're able to offer a full gamut of services.
Yeah.
Because I want everyone that's had an awesome Geaghan's beer in our territory in the state of Maine to have a great experience. There's so many things that are affecting our beer industry and the beverage industry right now. And if there's anything I can pass on to your viewers at home in YouTube land on the World Wide Websters,
the interwebs,
we want to make sure that people know beer is awesome. Beer is where we want to be.
Yeah.
Don't be distracted by Tito's homemade vodka that's up 31% and outpacing Absolute. And don't be distracted by wine. Don't be distracted by recreational or medicinal plant usage. We want people to know that beer is great. Whether it's beer that's made by local bearded men and women or beer that's made from people all over the world, there's awesome beer out there. We want you to try it.
You know, we've worked with you guys at Maine Distributors since the beginning of our distribution. We've worked with you at Maine Distributors since really the inception of our company as a retail purchaser from you guys. And I think it was really funny when we first made the Facebook announcement that we're putting our packaged product into trucks, and there's a picture, and we'll probably be able to pull it up and show the picture, and put up this thing where there's this picture of me back when I had hair. I think I had the ponytail probably rocking, which was a great phase of my life. The man bun was rolling, and somehow that part of it's just gone now. Run a brewery for a while, and you'll lose your hair. I almost guarantee it. But I was driving the forklift, so excited to put cases of bottles of Smiling Irish Bastard onto the truck, and what's on the side of the truck is a big decal, and the decal said Budweiser.
Yeah.
And man, oh man, did we hear from some people that we were selling to Budweiser and that we were selling out. So just to clear this up, you mentioned family owned and operated. People think two things happen. People see your trucks with Budweiser and think Budweiser owns you. But then also, we get the benefit of the doubt. People see the truck with me on it, they think we own that truck.
Yeah.
The reality is, all those trucks are owned by
Maine Distributors. Yeah, that's fake. You got some fake news out
there. Yeah, there's a lot of fake news.
Well,
we saw it on the interwebs. The old Facebook machine made it official.
We're very, very fortunate. Maine Distributors is a family-owned business. Doug and Scott Solomon and their families own the company. Some of the nicest guys you could ever possibly want to work for. It's been a family-owned business since its inception. It was started by Doug and Scott's grandfather in Aroostook County. We still have an office in Mapleton, Maine, just outside of Presque Isle.
Beautiful place. If you haven't been, go check it out. Look for the Buck Boys. It'll be a time.
We have a satellite division up there, which is where the original office was. And then Solomon Distributors merged with Maine Distributors here in Bangor. Again, I'm going to get the date wrong. Before I started there. And now eventually we're one company. And we're very, very excited to bring our products and our conversations to people. But yeah, we're not some massive bunch of dudes and dudettes. We're a family-owned business. We're 110 employees. The men and women that work with me at Maine Distributors live in these communities. So we have people that live in Calais and sell beer in Calais. People that live in Aroostook.
We've met some of them.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Yeah,
They're awesome.
You had a time
we
in
had
Calais,
I had a weekend there one night.
Yeah. We have people that live in Lincoln and sell Lincoln. We believe that those local experts are so valuable to our business.
Oh, it's been unreal for us because we came from the advantage in moving into brewing. We came from the advantage of having run a pub.
Sure.
And we know, and you might be thinking, well, what about that 3-tier thing? We'll do a whole. I'll get a flow chart of how it works and can't work. But as a brew pub, we can have a pub and tasting rooms are new. It's the world of beer has got
changing,
and fascinating. But we came with the advantage of knowing how beer sales in Bangor worked pretty well. I mean, probably somebody was doing it better than us, but we did it sufficiently. But we talked with you guys, and I've had beers in most of the state, but I don't know necessarily who the big players are in those markets. I don't know what flavor profiles are going to work the best. I don't know what brands are going to be the strongest. I don't know what's going to work in all of those markets. And you guys have the ability to take our portfolio of beers and give them to your your sales team that have real relationships, step foot into each of, I'm operating a relatively small company, and especially on the beer side, we have one salesperson that we employ full time. You have many salespeople that you said live in these places, do these things, and open up a portfolio that has Budweiser, but also has all of our offerings, and they have a relationship with those accounts and know what's going to work and know what's not going to work.
Sure.
And so, one of the things that I think has been great with all of our distribution partners throughout the state, because for those of you who might be wondering, Maine Distributors primarily Penobscot, Piscataqua, Hancock, Washington, and Aroostook County.
Sure. If you've ever bought a good beer from Palmyra all the way to Eastport and Lubec, all the way west to Greenville and Rockwood, and all the way north to Fort Kent and Madawaska, if you've purchased a good beer in that territory, I hope that you've chosen one from your friends at Maine Distributors.
Yeah.
So our territory is central, eastern, and northern Maine. Once you get south of the Palmyra Newport area, and again, there are other distributors that are not Maine D, but the ones.
How many distributors are there in the state now? I mean, it's almost starting to become like breweries. Not quite as many, but
exactly, it's changing all the time. I think there are probably 10 distributors that I can think of right now, and I'm sure that there are more that I'm missing out on. At one point in time, there were as many as 70 distributors in our part of in our territory in the state of Maine. So just like we're seeing the rise and hopefully not fall of breweries, but the opening and closing of small businesses like breweries, we also are seeing the opening and closing of distributors as well. And it's really challenging.
Some changes and different stuff.
So people kind of meeting up. It's not an easy business. We don't get to make beer. We buy our beer, and we buy our beer from awesome people like Andy and his crew, and from all of the many other suppliers in the state of Maine. Our job is just to deliver the beer and service the retailers. So the retailers that are buying the product are our customers. We have a finite number of customers. I can't go out and ring a doorbell and cold call somebody and sell any more beer. We only have the number of people that have a liquor license that can buy from us. We really believe that this business, this industry, has got to be about these tap room, tasting room style conversations. It has to be fun, it has to be challenging, it has to be profitable inevitably, but it's really a friendship game.
Yeah.
And we want people to feel connected to us, and we want to be able to be connected with those retailers.
And from the very beginning, with all of our distribution partners, with you guys, Maine Distributors, in the northern and eastern part of the state, Valley Beverage through the middle part of the state, and national distributors in the southern part of the state, we've really been able to build that partnership, and the investment of time and effort and resources that you've been able to put in and been willing to put into our brand has really been just a help that propelled us into another level of business. And that, I'm sure you guys have seen out in the market, a poster that says, "Hey, the Geaghan's crew is going to be at this bar on this day." Those are nicely printed posters that we don't have the printer for, but our distribution partners do, and they make those and put them up and announce our arrival.
Sure.
And then we get to be the ones that just show up and play. They've been carrying the beer. They've been stocking the shelves. They've been lugging it all over the place. They've been burning fuel to get to here, there, and everywhere, and representing us greatly in all those places. So, there, like we said earlier, there are a bunch of laws, and those laws tend to always be in flux as well, at least for the last 5 years. But what makes or breaks a distribution partnership, from my perspective, is really the relationship that is mutually beneficial.
We think that there's value in having a partner. So I can't bake bread, and I'm married to this awesome woman who is my wife who can really bake bread. And there are things that I can do for her that are super helpful, but I I'm just embarrassed to say it, but I can't bake a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
But I know that my partner can, and if I can be helpful to her and do some things around the house that maybe she doesn't like to do, we in the end could have bread.
Yeah.
And bread is good.
And a dog that has been walked.
Yeah,
goats that
sure.
have been fed.
Somebody's got to feed the goat.
Somebody's
got to mow the lawn. So I think the same thing applies for us. The men and women that work for Maine D, again, are some of the hardest working, kindest folks that you'll meet. But we don't brew beer as well as you do. We've tried, and it's been a little bit of a disaster. But we can't do a lot of the things that you and your team can do. What we can do really well is the logistics. In 24 hours, if you're in Machias, Maine, and our sales rep orders a case of beer, we can get that beer, the order, electronically sent back to our system. We have a night crew of hardworking men and women that work overnight to build those pallets, to wrap them up, to load them onto the trucks. Our truck drivers are in the office by 3:30, 4 a.m., loaded onto the truck, driving to Machias. In 24 hours, we can have a beer almost anywhere in our territory, or a wine, or a soda. Those are the things that we do really well. Rain, snow, sleet, all that stuff.
Sometimes even that beer isn't in your warehouse yet.
That's true.
You get on the horn to me and say, hey, this person wants a specialty keg. The truck's leaving tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Can we come get it from you?
Absolutely.
Bring it to our warehouse, inventory it all, make sure. And for those who don't know, I think you probably would easily assume there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of tracking that we need to do, internally for ourselves, but then also from a state level, because it's an alcoholic beverage that we're moving. It's not a widget, and so there's a lot of work that needs to be done behind the scenes. And sometimes, like I said, you'll move it from our possession to your possession to an account in unbelievably quick response time.
We really care about you having a beer somewhere, hopefully at one of our retailers, and we really want it to be a good experience for you, and we want our retailers to stay in business and be profitable and have a great time.
Yeah.
And so for us, the things that we do well are maintain the logistics of the delivery and the selling and the inventory, but also navigating what the law is and making sure that we're within the bounds of the law, making sure that we're educating the retailers about proper alcohol consumption, use, and the responsibility that we all take by selling and delivering alcohol. And we really, really have a good time doing it. We love what we do. And that part of it is really cool. And to be able to work with you and your team to bring awesome beers to the people of Central and Northern and Eastern Maine is fun. It will never not be fun.
Yeah.
And if it is, then I think we'll need to start selling widgets, like you said.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think so too. And the support that we get from our distribution partners, again, I can't overstate the growth that we saw, particularly in 2015, 16. Never, ever could have happened without that partnership and that give and take and the help. So you're a kid from Maine.
Yeah, Belfast boy, born and raised.
How did you get there? How did you go from a kid growing up in Morrill, Maine, right?
Yeah, Morrill. Actually, nice.
And said, hey, I am going to have a leadership role in a beverage distribution company in this great state.
Well, Andy, it was a pretty smooth process.
Yeah, about as smooth as my process into brewing beer.
Yeah. I graduated from Belfast Area High School in the year of our Lord 2000. I went to school at UMaine Farmington to become an elementary school teacher. I was going to influence and mold the minds of our youth to be better people. Yeah. I had a great time doing that. I was not what you would describe as a successful educator, meaning that I thought I might like to do something else at the end of my career.
Here's this thread that, we're very early into this tasting room conversation.
Sure.
I think there's this line that's just going to go through all of these, because a lot of the people that we're talking with are like people who are legitimately part of my friends. Like we pitch this as like, hey, I met a lot of cool people, and they do a lot of cool things. We're going to talk a little bit about what they do, but we're going to talk a bunch about who they are. It seems like every time we're getting into the conversation of who they are, it's people who don't really live inside a box necessarily and function and do some different things. That might be a statement about me.
I think it probably applies. To me as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of similarities. Those of you that know Andy and know about his background, similar stories.
Yeah.
I tried to be a teacher. It definitely wasn't for me, although I have nothing but respect for the educators that are at home drinking a beer watching this. I took a couple of years off and just traveled for a while. And then I came back and I saw a posting for a beer sales rep. Back then it was in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And I called right up. I knew that I loved beer. I had brewed beer. I had worked in a bar before. And I got hired to be a sales rep. And I was a sales rep in the Machias area. Shout out to our friends down east.
Yeah.
I got to sell a little bit of beer down there. And I did that for a short period of time, and then it wasn't the perfect gig for me. I didn't have quite the skill set I needed to be a rock star beer sales rep, but I was close. I was right on the cusp. And so I moved into the office at Maine Distributors, and that's how I first started working with your family. Back then, those old school Geaghan's fans will remember the Beervana series that you were doing. Mm-hmm. You were really at the cutting edge of encouraging consumers to try new beers, whether it be every week or every month.
Yeah.
You'd have a get-together. Yeah. And I was working at my computer to make these slideshows for your father and uncle to try to inspire the Mug Club members to try these new Beervana beers. And you were buying beer from all the distributors, everybody, trying a new one each time. And I had a small book of beers to sell you back then, but I was trying to encourage you to try some of ours. And then down the road, I've become a little more helpful to your business and have been in a sort of a liaison position between you and
we
my
talk
company.
very often.
Pretty frequently. You know what's going on. And I'm really excited to be a part of it. I love where I live. I mean, I really enjoy being in Maine and helping people. We love beer, which is a common shared theme. And we love understanding how the business works to try to help other people. So it's kind of like teaching elementary school, really.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It's basically
the same thing. Yeah. Or, I mean, a little different.
Yeah, but close. There's some similarities.
Yeah. So beyond selling beer and doing these things, I know that you're a guy who does some shit. And so unassuming. We knew each other for a long time, and we were having a conversation about hiking. And it just, I do some hiking. And we're like, oh yeah, where do you hike? Well, I did the AT. You're like, oh yeah. And then I had a conversation with you, and like, yeah, I in my past road triathlons did a lot of cycling. And you're like, yeah, I rode across the country once. And then we were talking about kayak, and he's like, yeah, I floated one of those down the Mississippi. Like, what are you passionate about beyond your beautiful wife? In this great state of Maine and in the world that keeps you here, and you said, I want to stay here.
Yeah, that's my spot.
Why is this home base, and what are the sort of things that are here that are also what draw you out to, say, Norway to go fishing?
Well,
those are all things. Like, I'm not making this shit up.
You're too kind.
And he's gonna be like, no, you're too kind. And everybody who knows Jasper right now is like, oh, he just dropped it on him.
You're very, very thoughtful of you. I'm passionate about a lot of things, and I have been fortunate enough to be able to travel a great deal, which has been awesome. A lot of it was self-propelled, being outside. Trying to be a genuine human being, trying to treat people with respect. I love to fish. I fish a bit.
Yeah, we always shared pictures. Yeah.
I like
He's one of those floppy rod guys. Yeah.
I'm really interested in the way that engineering works in terms of motorcycles and vintage old Ford trucks. I have an old Ford truck, a 47.
I mean, it's no Dodge, but
no, it's not. Sadly, it's not a Dodge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it'll keep you tinkering forever.
Yeah, good. You got me there.
See how that
I brought it to the tasting room. I mean, it runs fine.
It got here. Yeah, it looked good. It looks awesome.
I am really lucky that in my job I have the freedom to interact with a lot of people, and I would say that that's something I'm really passionate about. It's something that I feel like beer and this industry draws so well to have a conversation with somebody in a pub, to have a conversation with someone. I meet people all the time that tell me my beer is terrible.
Yeah.
And I love it because I don't actually make any beer. Like, my friends and I have brewed beer, and it is pretty terrible, but it's fun to talk to people about what they like in beer, whether they are interested in certain styles, or whether they're really interested about some of these new soda, non-alcoholic products we have coming out. This type of work, where you can engage with people on a really genuine level, is valuable to me. It's something that I would say, I'm passionate about. I like to do it. And now we're to the point where we have these sales reps that are on the road that need help, and you can be helpful to them by providing them data, or providing them encouragement, or a song in the morning, or something to kick off their day. And the hope is that they're going to pass that on to the retailers, to the restaurateurs of America, to the gas station backroom workers, to the people in Hannaford that are receiving the product to go out onto the shelves, and ultimately so that when you walk in somewhere to purchase your products, whether it be beer, wine, or soda, you're feeling good and you're excited about the weekend. You're excited to spend some time with your
just like we are. We've got something on. We're going to go out and catch some bass. We're going to go out and sit by a campfire, and what makes that better is the people we do it with. First and foremost, and then sometimes having a 6-pack of the perfect beer, and sitting down and having that be a part of the equation. But first and foremost, it's about the people, it's about the experience, it's about that sort of life. And you are certainly a guy that we could spend endless hours talking about the minutiae of some of the trips and those sorts of things. But you're also gonna fluff it off as
very
thoughtful. I think that's something that Maine has, is the ability to hold the attention of an endless explorer.
Stories, right?
Yeah, and whether it be an endless explorer of people, even in your territory, you're not getting into southern Maine, you're not getting far western Maine, you're not even really getting into the sort of southern part of central Maine. There are so many communities that are vastly different. There are so many people that are vastly different. There's a never-ending ability to learn something new, to meet somebody new that has a different perspective, a different way of life, a different job that is like, I often drive through some of these parts of Maine and go, what do you do if you live out here?
Yeah.
And there's something that they're doing. And whether it be working as a Maine guide, or working in our working forests, whether it's farming or teaching or preaching, or there's so many different things, delivering beer,
selling and delivering beer,
making beer, doing those things. For me, I love Maine because there are, first and foremost, just amazing, wonderful, cool people. And then never-ending opportunities to get out and explore and find a beautiful fishing hole that nobody else is on, to build a motorcycle and drive it across the state and see things and do stuff. All these things are just genuinely real things that happen in Maine.
We're really fortunate to live here. I've had a chance to live in some other places, albeit for a short period of time, but the genuineness or the mindset of Maine people is unparalleled. I spent some time hitchhiking through the South in Georgia and North Carolina, and I
don't think I even knew that one yet. Okay.
I met people that instantly responded to the fact that I was from Maine, and so they knew, or they assumed right away, that I was a good guy, which was a safe bet at the time. But we're so blessed.
One of the things that I see, and that my hope is that we continue to keep that quality of people up. We continue to keep the quality of these business partnerships up. We continue to keep the quality of the conversation up, and uplift people and show people that, hey, yeah, Maine is vacation land, but wouldn't it be great to live in vacation land? Yeah. And I think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see a time in the not too distant future where Bangor doesn't become the anomaly for being a growth town for millennials, that really the whole state of Maine becomes a growth state. We talk about our winters, we talk about the tough times, but they're not that bad. No. They're pretty awesome. And the beautiful aspects of it and the opportunities that it provides are just amazing. And you really still do business with a handshake. I don't know if you're aware of this, but we don't have any filed paperwork with you guys. for a contract. We look Scott Solomon in the eye and said, "We trust you," and he says, "We trust you, and we're gonna do this thing." And we've sold a ton of product together. We've moved throughout the entirety of northern and eastern Maine to become a top player entirely on a handshake, and that to me says a lot about the integrity of your company and the perspective of what Maine is and ought to be.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, and is absolutely true. And it goes back to the fact that sometimes people don't understand what we do. We're sort of, as distributors, in the background. You don't see my bearded face on the side of a truck. You don't see me out shaking hands and kissing babies. But we try really hard logistically to make sure we have those products moving around. And we have a great deal of respect for our partners because they are exactly that. They're partners of ours. So I'm happy to hear that we're planning on continued success and that things are going well. And I don't think that we're an anomaly.
No.
I don't think that across the state there aren't hundreds of Andy Geaghans and Jasper Walsh having a beer and talking about business and a mutual understanding and respect for each other. I think that you do hear about the very, very few that are unhappy, and sometimes people make more noise when they're unhappy than they are happy. But we want everybody to grow. We want everyone's businesses to be successful. And I'm kind of beating a drum here, but we want everybody to have a great experience with beer.
Yeah.
Whether you make it or whether it's made in Belgium or whether it's made in South Africa, I want everybody to have a great beer and to be able to share it with their friends and family.
I agree, but also buy local.
If you have a chance, you can buy it. Definitely, we fully support that as well.
Well, we've had a great conversation. The conversation would continue forever as we get into all the minutiae. My beer's empty, and yours is about to be. So, thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another tasting room conversation.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.